Hey everyone, it's Tim from timgonyer.com here, and today I have great plans of going outside and doing a new tips and tricks video, maybe talking about tree bark or rocks or something like that. But I woke up this morning and it was really cold out and it's just pouring rain, so it kind of ruined my plans for making this video today. So being an artist, I was like, well, I gotta get creative here. What can I do today inside to kind of help you guys out with your painting adventures? And the more I looked outside, the more I started thinking about this painting I was working on. And outside right now it's really gray. So one color that I think is kind of hard to mix for people is gray. A lot of times it's you're mixing black and white, and you're just really getting a really flat gray color. So what I'm going to do today is talk about how to mix some nice natural gray colors for your clouds and maybe for some other things as well. So instead of going outside and freezing to death and getting soaking wet, I decided I'm going to sit nice and warm here in my studio for this week's episode of
What's That Color?
Alright, so let's pull the table over, get the palette ready, and we'll mix up some grays. Okay, so I've got my palette here. I've got these little cutouts, drawing paper, thick drawing paper, that I'm going to paint different colors. I call them my color swatches. And I've got just a brush, and I've got my colors over here, my favorite colors to make grays. And I'll go over them really quick. For blues, I use ultramarine blue and cerulean blue. I've also got brilliant blue here just to kind of talk about using blue to make gray. I don't always use brilliant blue. Actually, I rarely use brilliant blue and gray. But we're just going to try it to see what we get with it. So ultramarine blue, cerulean blue. And then the key elements to my grays are burnt sienna and raw umber. And then I've got alizarin crimson and yellow ochre. And these are fluid colors. They're acrylic. This works for oil and heavy body and all that. Heavy body and fluid paint for golden are pretty much the same pigment. It's just a different consistency. So don't worry too much about that. First one I'm going to do is my favorite for clouds, which is ultramarine blue. And I have titanium white over here too. And then put a little bit of raw umber on here. Okay, so first one here I have is, what I like to do is just take my color swatches and write the colors. Raw umber and ultramarine blue. Okay, so that way I'll make a little collection of these at the end that I can reference later when I'm doing my paintings. So my favorite mix for cloud gray is ultramarine blue and a little bit of raw umber. And then I'm going to use white just to get it to a mid-tone color. And you can see here you get a nice blue-gray color. So if I paint this one here, you can see that this one's a little more blue-gray. And one thing you can do is you can continue to adjust the color a little bit by adding more raw umber. And so you get a different variety of gray. The more raw umber you add to it, the warmer it gets. So as your clouds get closer to you in your landscapes, they get a little bit more gray like that. And then, you can even go as far as to make it kind of a dirty gray with more raw umber. Okay, so you got three varieties there of gray which work really nice in your clouds. It's my favorite mix. Another thing you can do with this mix, sometimes the clouds have this kind of like a purplish tint to them. So to do that, what I like to do is add a little alizarin crimson. So I'll just write crimson, raw umber, and ultramarine blue. Okay, so again, I'm going to start with the more bluish gray, like that. A little bit of white. And just a little bit of alizarin crimson. Now you have, oh, I've got that swatch right here. You have that purplish gray color, and you're kind of getting more and more purple. So you can continue adding more purple going this way. Adding more alizarin crimson, I should say, to make it more purple. Or you can take this color and add more raw umber to it. And you get another kind of a purplish gray color, but this time it's a little bit more on the raw umber side. So you can see already this variety of grays we've got just from these three colors in white. And you can continue mixing these into a large variety of values and tones and colors. So, you know, these three colors make a great variety of grays for your clouds. Okay, I'm not going to go quite as many colors this time, but you can take the same three colors and take out ultramarine blue and add cerulean blue. So you can use cerulean blue and raw umber, and then alizarin crimson to make it a little bit more purple. You can actually use all four colors to make more grays, but I usually focus on one blue and work with that blue, and maybe add another blue just here and there in my paintings, but most of the time it's based on just one blue. So if I take cerulean blue and raw umber, what happens now is we start to get, it's almost, it's a little bit kind of a greenish gray. It's not really green, but I always feel like it has this kind of greenish feel to it. So you can go, again, more raw umber and work up a warmer gray with your cerulean blue. So you've got, you know, your cooler blue and your warmer blue. Your warmer blue has a little more raw umber. And then again, you can take alizarin crimson, just a little bit, and add that in. And you start to get a more purplish gray. And you can go either more blue or you can go more raw umber with that color too. So again, you can get a large variety of grays with your cerulean blue, raw umber, and alizarin crimson, and of course a little bit of white to change the value. Okay, now what if we took out raw umber and added in burnt sienna, still used our blues and our alizarin crimson? Well, we'll get a warmer kind of gray, and I'll show you that. And it's a really nice, we'll start with ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. Okay, this is a really nice gray as well. I like to use it for a lot of shadow colors. But you start to see it's more of a brownish gray, but once you add white into it here, you can see it's a much more kind of brownish gray. And it's almost kind of got that purplish feel to it too. And I just want to talk about why the blue and burnt sienna make gray. Burnt sienna is very close to the orange range in color, and blue is obviously on the opposite range. It's the complement of orange. And usually when you mix complementary colors, you'll get a muddy color. And sometimes it's gray, sometimes it's brown. But if you mix colors that aren't quite complements, but close you get a really nice kind of gray color. So it kind of works with yellow and alizarin crimson too, because those are almost complements too, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But next, what I want to do is take burnt sienna and cerulean blue and some white. You can see you get another nice, unique gray color. A little bit different, but still kind of a brownish kind of gray color, which is really, really nice. Then you can add alizarin crimson to that. Starting to run out of room over here. Add alizarin crimson to either one of those and you'll get more of kind of a purplish color. So again, we're using blue, burnt sienna, and a little bit of alizarin crimson if we want to make it more purple. If we want it to be more gray, we just use the two colors. Ultramarine blue makes more of a natural gray. Cerulean blue kind of makes more of a kind of a muted brownish gray, and then adding alizarin crimson to either is going to make it more purplish. Okay, to take the complementary theory a little bit further, what we're going to do is take yellow ochre and alizarin crimson. And we'll mix it right over here. We take these two colors we get kind of a peachy gray color. And that's a really nice one to work from. So once you have that color, which actually works really nice for like a post-rain shower cloud or a sunset cloud, once you have that color, you can go and add in maybe a little touch of raw umber. Okay, and you start to get a little bit more on the gray scale, but still this is a kind of a peachy gray, and you can take raw umber and kind of pull it more towards the gray scale. You can then start to add blues and everything too. So if you added, let's say we added some ultramarine blue to this, we get another nice completely gray color that is still on the same kind of wavelength here. So that's how you can kind of mix some of your grays. You can take complements and mix them, or you can use the raw umber burnt sienna with blue and mix those to make your grays. And I'm talking mostly about grays for clouds or sky color. But you'll see once you add all of these up, try to mix as many grays as you can with these combinations. And once you have all of these large variety of gray swatches, you can put them together, and you might notice that there's a lot of things in nature that have a gray aspect to them, and these are really handy colors to paint with. So just for fun, I'm just going to take some brilliant blue and some raw umber. And brilliant blue is a little bit closer on the green scale than say ultramarine blue and cerulean blue. And you'll notice here that you get a nice kind of greenish gray color. And that might not work out so well for clouds, but it works great for shadows and trees. So when you take raw umber and burnt sienna and mix it with your blues, you'll get a large variety of grays. You have cobalt blue, you have Prussian blue, the blues are continuous. What I would do, what I recommend is sitting down one rainy day like today for me and taking out a whole bunch of your blues, take some raw umber, burnt sienna, and some white, mix them together and just make a whole bunch of color swatches. Make sure you write down the colors on the back, and you'll start to develop a memory of different gray colors that work really nice. And grays are really important in landscapes because most shadows have a grayish tint to them. Clouds have gray in them. Rocks, mountains, even grass, tree bark. There's a lot of things that have gray in it, and we'll visit some more of those things in a future episode of What's That Color? So once you're done mixing up all of your gray colors, you'll have a nice variety of things to look at when you're out in nature painting or in the studio and you're having a hard time getting a gray. Most likely you mixed it, and it's in your little pack of color swatches here. So I just take some framing wire, connect a little loop, put that through here, and keep that handy. And when next time you're painting clouds or you're painting a gray sky or anything like that, you'll have these colors handy to reference. So the key to making grays is, for me, my favorite is to mix ultramarine blue, raw umber, or cerulean blue, raw umber, sometimes burnt sienna, but mostly those blues and those raw umbers and burnt siennas are going to make a large variety of grays. But then if you want to go a little bit more purplish, you just add a little bit of alizarin crimson. Another key you can go by is if you mix complementary colors or almost complementary colors, you'll get a nice muddy gray that you can work with from there. So if you're working on a painting that has a lot of reds in it, maybe you want to mix in a little bit of green here and there to make a gray. You can always kind of try those things when you're working on your paintings to take it to the next level. So that's this week's episode of What's That Color? I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, feel free to share with your friends, like, and all that fun social media stuff that helps me out. And if you're interested in taking a workshop with me, I might be coming to your city in 2017. I've posted my schedule. It's not a complete schedule, but most of the cities that I'll be visiting are up there on my website at www.timgagner.com. So if you're interested in a workshop, head on over and check that out. I also have a large variety of online painting lessons, drawing lessons, and all that fun stuff there too. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.